Welcome to the Pain and the Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Darrin Bedford. Today we doing another episode of the Big Bruh Little Bruh series. I got DB the EiGuy sitting down for another episode where we just gonna talk some real life about things that we've experienced in hopes. Our intention is to help the community grow when it comes to building resilience and developing emotional intelligence. This podcast was created out of pure necessity based on me losing my daughter in an untimely manner. And not only did I lose her, she was taken from us, which causes an immense amount of pain and grief. And so through that, I developed this podcast. And so today we're gonna revisit a conversation that we had.
I don't remember.
What was the details are sketchy.
All right, what was the conversation?
No, the detail. Fix my pants. The conversation was, I asked you before, how do you help or how do you process the emotions of watching your wife process her pain because she had recently lost her father?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
And so now that we've been experiencing it for a little bit now.
No, that's good. It's funny because when I was on my way over here, I was thinking about like my grief process, right?
Yeah.
That we don't talk about. So as a brother, as an uncle, as a son, as a husband, I had to think about that, myself. So it's actually a really good question to segue. How do I process? Part of it was giving her space to be able to. So, and one was being 100% supportive on whatever she felt she needed to do in that moment, and not what I think she needed to do, right? Because we always like to try to give advice, and we mean well, but in that moment, and was very careful not to be like how I handled our mom's death.
Yeah.
Right. So very intentional about that. And so she had to, before he passed, he got ill really fast and he was in the hospital. So she needed to hop on a flight to Houston. So I was being supportive by clearing the path and making sure she got there as soon as she could, which was super beneficial because she'll spend the last days with him, and then also making her not feel any pressure to come back until she felt the need to. So that's, I think, the first part was being very supportive and creating space. Then when she got back, I think I fumbled once because she brought it to my attention. I think that I have a habit of being dismissive, but I don't look at it in a negative way. It's me creating space for myself, but a lot of times it has an impact on the ones that love me, and so she did feel like I was being a little dismissive, and I think it was because she was looping around a conversation that she had said over and over and over again, and my thought was, well, whatever you focus on expands, and so if you keep focusing on that part of it, you're going to keep feeling that feeling. And in her mind, she's like, dude, he's only been gone a week. Like, I should be able to say this as much as I need to. And I didn't even realize, to your point that you point out in the book, I didn't even realize that statement caught. So she didn't say anything, but she held it. And later on, a couple of weeks later, we were just randomly talking, and then she felt it was a good time to say. I just wanted to say that, like, early on, like, that moment right there stung a lot, and she realized that I didn't even realize it. And so After that, where we are today, it is just about like she has like a little memorial with his picture and candle. And like a Mexican Heritage Day, um, De la something Morts Day. I can't really pronounce it. I don't want to chop it up, disrespect the day, but it's a Day of the Dead,
Yeah.
right? And so she honored, right, her father and our mother, and like a candle was lit for like 3 days, and I'm saying all this to say, was that something I would have done? No. However, being mindful not to project,
Yeah.
right? So when you ask how, that's what I'm doing, being very conscious of my decisions and listening, and understanding, when she's speaking about the death of her father, that she wanted to be heard, helped, or hugged, right? And then kind of making that assessment along the way. So I'll pause right there because there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah. So two things I want to point out: the repetitiveness of the vocalization is us trying to work through
Mm-hmm.
the process, and the more we speak about it, the easier it becomes.
Mm-hmm.
It allows the person to process those emotions, and uh, the second part is she looking for validation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's grief is a tricky subject because
Oh yeah.
when someone loses someone, especially a father figure, depending on the relationship that she had with her father, she probably lost her superhero.
Mm-hmm. Mm. That's true. And he was showing, he was very present up until the time that he passed. And let me throw something else out there too, though, because there's also a disadvantage, I think, for being identified as the strongest one or the strong one of a family. And I think it's fair to say that I kind of hold that space in our family and in the community as well. Um, so sometimes I'm not given grace or understanding. In fact, I feel like people are harder on me, right? As if I don't grieve, as if I don't feel. You know what I'm saying? And if I show any vulnerability or weakness in that space, it almost feels like there's an opportunity for people to be like, oh, so you this. Oh, like instead of supporting me, they want to be like, oh, that's what I've been trying to tell you. And it's like, and I get it, but it's hard. We're talking about grief,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we
And we're
talking
talking
about
about
grief.
and how it affects everybody. And
Yeah,
for those out there that are the strong ones of the nucleus of their being, for someone like myself, it's hard to be outward with the grieving because it's up for critique, and it's also hard to express the person you need me to be for you because it could be critiqued as well. And so it gets talk about being weird. It
yeah,
gets really weird for us too, especially
and
me.
and
So
and I think I'm experiencing a little bit of that, being put out there as uh, the guy that's talking about grief. I believe that my vulnerability and me being vulnerable in the beginning is like widening that net, right? But if you're human, you human. You just know more information about a subject than most, and we do have to give you, like I say, grace to grow and grace to be vulnerable. That's why I asked you, and I've asked you several times during like my process, like watching you watch me. I'm like,
mhm,
bro, are you okay?
you have.
Because I know that you lost your niece and you watching your little brother, and some days the pain that's in my eyes.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I asked you, how you doing? And in true DB fashion,
Mm-hmm.
you blow it off sometimes. You be like, I'm good, or I got it. Which
But
which
I'm not blowing it off.
you not
I want to know about because
yeah,
because it's not a blow off though,
yeah.
right? It is the big brother in me, right?
Uh,
Want to continue to hold space for you, regardless if you're trying to hold space for me. It's like a it's just it's like how you would do for your it's an order in this. So I'm not saying it's the right thing to do.
I was about to say
Yeah,
that don't mean
but
it's right
it's
because
just meaning that's what's happening. It's like I'm good, and I am good. I'm good enough to be here for you. But that is the disadvantage that one that we struggle with, and I don't think that. And this is a good conversation. I don't think that also people think that it matters to me as much as it matters to them. So some people think that I'm not grieving, right? Like the loss of my niece is not as important to her cousin or whatever. Like they look at me like somehow I'm not tripping. You know what I'm saying? Just because I'm not expressing it the way that everybody else expresses it. Same thing with mama. Same thing with any of these deaths that and we experienced death for a long time, right?
yes,
You know,
we've been
Uncle
getting knocked we've
Junior,
been
our
getting knocked around.
grandmothers, our grandfather, like it's and everybody does. And so in this conversation, at least for me, I'm just expressing now that you know, those of us that hold that space, and in me particular, just I want everybody to understand too, though, like I feel the pain, I cry, I just because of the role that I didn't ask for. I didn't ask to be born first,
Yeah,
right? I just
yeah,
it's my assignment, and
yeah.
so it's just the protectiveness in me. And you need me to, but the reality, you need me to be like this to be there for you. And if it's a small sacrifice of me not getting whatever I'm saying, trying to express in this moment, it's worth it to be there 100% for you. Because I know for a fact, if I had not stepped up and been there for you, this conversation would be totally different,
Oh,
for sure.
most definitely. But as a little brother, I guess I could say I'm giving you permission to feel some of those emotions because it's unhealthy for you. Because as you see pain in my face, I'm looking at pain in yours.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's triggering the conversation or the question. And then when you don't or you stop the conversation, it's kind of like cheating me out the opportunity
Mm.
to help you sometimes.
All right.
So although, yeah, you the big brother, I'm the little bro, we both can understand that I am well versed in some things and I can actually help you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when I'm asking, it's because it's something triggered inside me and you need to relieve too. Just like when mom first passed and I was like, let it out. That's the little boy in you crying for the man you are now. And you was like, that was deep. I've been hitting you with some deep stuff lately too.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
gonna
Yeah,
take
you've been coming with your little two pieces. You have. I said that the other day. You've been doing the
and,
work.
and so it is important for not only me, but for the rest of the family, right? To allow you to process those emotions because bottled up emotions, although you the emotional intelligence guy,
That's right.
stress will take your ass out the game just like anybody else if you're not allowed to process those emotions other than just saying I'm good.
Yeah, but so thank you for that. No, thank you. I also want you to understand that I am processing. I couldn't be available if I wasn't processing. I
Okay.
am. And and I'm very honest about that. I am processing. My outward expression of what I just said is a because somebody else is watching is in the same situation that I'm
Absolutely.
in, and I'm saying that for those that support them, just understand, to so I guess all I'm saying is that those moments when I say like I may not, it feels like I didn't say the right thing, right, or I didn't, it's like that's where we need the grace at.
Yeah.
That's not time to get super mad at me because I've been 9 for 10, and then the one, right, changes the. I mean, without even grieving though, bro. Like we've had our problems over the years
Yeah,
where
yeah,
I'm good brother for a long time, and I do this one thing, and it turns you 100% off, and we had a big gap.
yeah,
And
yeah.
but it's not just
But
it happens in all aspects, and there's a part of me that I know that I can choose to work on, or I can accept the results, right? So
okay,
I have an internal decision to make because I can't be everything for everybody and not for myself. So
most definitely.
um, I have to be confident that I'm living with good intent and good purpose. And if it doesn't always hit right, I'll take that hit because that's part of my assignment. But those who support us, those that are strong and support me, also can realize that I'm not going to always get it right. And if you want to ever want to support me, right? If you want that moment, that's a great time to do it and not the other, right?
Yeah,
Where you
most
want
definitely.
you rather
Yeah,
instead of going, oh,
help me up.
yeah,
Don't
yeah,
shoot me down.
yeah. So that's all.
And I would. I'm thinking, for me personally, I don't believe that me personally lately or within the last few years have been the one to shoot you down. I've been the one to come to your aid, or but I do see what you're talking about.
Of
Like
course.
in society, do hold you to a higher regard,
And family.
and
And
family
family, you
hold you to a
know.
higher regard unfairly sometimes. And so
But
this is
you
this
definitely have been hella supportive. You definitely have shown a lot of emotional maturity that I've precedents that I've seen in
yeah.
your entire life. Like I've seen you change your algorithm. Told you I was going to use it.
Don't use my saving on me.
Change
Okay, I
your
get it. Okay,
algorithm
I get it.
to get these better results in
Most
your life. So
definitely.
that makes me proud, man. But when this book here is it's a work of art, man. You know what I'm saying? The Grief Cycle is Bullshit is is a very good book, and I can't wait to read. I read it online, but it's different than having it in your hand.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I like the size of it. I like how it's broken down. Like I can't wait to really dive into this and get a read for the second time because this is going to be a game changer for so many people because um, when you in that period of time, you need
information.
relevant connection that's backed by information in order to even have stand a chance.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Because what is it? What is the end of the day? What is it really all about? It's about being able to continue to live, right? Um, after you've lost someone, they've transitioned on, whatever you want to frame it, and to in another one of your famous sayings, man, to be able to, what I'm saying, cry without feeling weak and laugh without feeling guilty because you must move on and there are other people that are counting on you, right? And so, and then we keep it all in perspective. You got to get back to living because, you know, shit, our numbers coming too. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? So it's like you, and getting back to living mean to me is getting back to whatever you feel like you've been called to do, whatever your purpose is, whatever your intention is in life. You want to get back to that so that when your time comes, right, there's remnants of your being here for those that matter to you. So, as
absolutely.
a grandfather, right, all of this time that you are spending with your grandkids, right, is going to be of great benefit to them once you take it to the next life, right, or whatever happens after that. Because you and I both know that we didn't get that much time with our grandfather. You were younger than I, and I was relatively young when he passed. So I have very vague memories. There's elements he smoked that cigar
Cigar.
pipe. So I remember coming in the house and smelling that scent. So if I ever smell that, it's like that reminds me of my grandfather. His I could hear his voice, and I heard it a lot more through Uncle Junior. He seemed to carry it
Yeah, Uncle
on.
Junior definitely was
He was like the next whatever, but only a few memories of my grandfather. Now, Daddy can tell me that Granddaddy did these things with me when I was younger, but I can't remember them. So the benefit of us being young grandparents, we get opportunity to create more experiences for them that they can have to hold on to. And the same thing with our children. And so, that lineage, of
yeah,
Bedford, what I mean, get back to our purpose is to make sure that they have something to hang on to in the event that we leave, at some point, and so this whole life cycle, grief cycle is something that has to be done intentionally. You got to be able to process. You got to be open to these kind of conversations so that you can try to feel good
yeah.
about living and not be in such a dark space. And I'll say this, man, that last video you did is like, it touched me so much, man. Like, you know what I mean? When you broke down the birthday card and
Yeah.
to have the strength to be like, not only am I going to have my moment, but I'm going to create content for the whoever out there is here having the same kind of moment. They know that they're not alone. And bruh, that's what it's all about, man.
But that's what I stood up and said, that I was going to be forward facing with this. It helps me process through the moment. And I know through countless conversations that it's a lot of women and men out there. The men just won't talk.
Mm-hmm.
We still hide behind the facade of Bravo or machoism or whatever you want to call it. They don't want to let their guard down. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to let my guard down and still be a man's man. And it's difficult for people to understand that both can coexist. Like,
Both things could be true.
both things can be true, and both things, like, gratitude and grief can coexist, and you have to give yourself space to hold for both of them. Just like yesterday or the other day when I posted a post, and both posts, the verses, both had anger in them, and this dude came on and was like, "I'm motivated by anger." Literally said that both of those up there have anger in them. It's just however you decide to process it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like moments like the one that you pointing out, previous video. I I have made a conscious decision to do everything except probably cry on camera, unless I'm already recording and a teardrop. But I'm not going to never be crying and hit the record button.
Yeah, I mean, and because that would be that's not authentic. That's not as authentic.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? As being in the moment. I'm thankful to have whatever level of influence on you for you to put yourself out there because this is not what you wanted to do.
no, it's definitely
Yeah,
not.
you know what I'm
So
saying?
so on record, y'all could thank DB the EI guy for the book, for the podcast, for me talking. I think it was kind of like a selfish push though, because he know that if I bottle my emotions up, things can go all the way left. So I thank you for pushing me, for supporting me, and just stepping up in a major way when I needed you the most. Uh, and my part of my gratitude to that is actually listening to the I don't want to say the suggestions that you say. You know what I
No,
mean?
no,
Ace and
no,
pizza,
no. I get
ace and
it.
pizza.
But I think I read a long time ago that um, serving people, you know, and doing things for others, it's just a feeling that's unprecedented. And when I heard you um, mention it's real early, that you help someone, and the way you felt about that, I knew it was in you. You just hadn't had a moment to think about it. So the push was just unlocking levers that I already seen in you, and I knew that you could be more. You could do more with this than just fester on it and be angry about it and want to, you know what I'm saying, blow everything up and do all
Yeah.
the things, the violence that rightfully so, you know, is felt, that wants to have, like, we're very transparent about, like, don't get it twisted. Like, some shit we want to do. You know what I'm saying?
And,
We just are choosing not to, but it's not that we don't or that we can't.
so I'm 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 glad you brought that up because as I was working on the vision for the 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 Pain and the Purpose podcast, it's to break two cycles: the grief cycle and the violence cycle.
Mm,
Everyone is very capable of being violent,
yes.
and we see real time how that's playing out in other people's lives.
Yes.
Like, I have real life experiences of people going to go do something and then they get took off the board.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I got instances of people like they do this and this, do this, and I'm like, no, I don't want to be a part of that cycle. I can, and I got people behind me that's willing to do that, but I'm like, the last few years, even before we lost Nana, I told the circle of individuals around me, my number one job is to not lead us into tragedy. And then tragedy struck us, and I still have to remain true to that. So, the Pain and the Purpose podcast was created to break two cycles. Well, it's in addition to, well, it birthed the Grief Cycle, this bullshit book. So yes, the Pain and the Purpose podcast helps break two cycles in a black man's life. The grief cycle, which does not apply to losing a child violently, and the violent cycle that plagues our community. And I am dedicated to being a good human as long as humanly possible. And I think that might be the end of the.
You see, I ain't saying a word. That was a mic drop right there, man.
Thank y'all for tuning in to this episode of the Pain and the Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Darrin Bedford. I have the infamous DB, the EiGuy.
Yep, it's
Have a blessed and stress-free day. We love you. Peace.